Hi, Jayanth. Good to see you back.
Hi, Leslie. Good to see you, man.
I know you're in Kuala Lumpur, so don't make me jealous. But I'm not going to ask you how your weekend was.
No, it actually included a long drive from Bangalore to Chennai through the highways that they're building. What used to be 4.5 hours used took all of 6 hours. So, because I was flying
I,
out of Chennai.
I
Yeah,
said, thank you for not telling me, that, okay, it was a long drive from Bangalore to Kuala Lumpur, because then you would
that
have
could
had to use the Ram Setu.
exactly. And also, I won't be doing that all alone. I mean, I know how much of a roadster you are. Okay, so some of those long trips we're going to do that together. You know that.
Then I did go for a very long drive myself. It was almost like 600 kilometers both ways.
Over
Uh,
the weekend?
yeah, it was just a random thing. So I just enjoyed,
Nice.
got caught in the rain and had a lovely, lovely time. And today evening, of course, I'm going to enjoy the India-England match.
All
Let's see,
right.
it's the semifinals.
Yes.
Afghanistan gave a drubbing. Afghanistan got a drubbing
Yeah. Yeah.
from South
South
Africa.
Africa.
But I
Yeah.
thought it was they've made themselves proud by
No, their run in this T20 World Cup is something to be
I
proud of.
think it was
Definitely.
extremely credible that you had
Totally.
South Asian teams that were there. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
good. It was good. I was happy for Bangladesh, happy for our friends in Afghanistan. So good. So yeah, in the AI field of AI, of course, there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of noise, but I
Exactly.
think this was one of the relatively quieter weeks,
Quieter and calmer weeks. I mean,
quiet and calmer weeks.
considering in the last few months, the kind of developments that were happening in AI, there are developments, mind you,
Oh
there are
yes, yes,
developments,
yes.
but still, it's relatively seeming calmer and quieter. Who
Yeah,
would have thought?
from the big developments. Because there's those minor developments, minor
We
improvements.
have a new LM at the top of the leaderboard, okay, and still we're calling it a calmer week.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. See, that's exactly what I was saying. So
Right.
karma being from the point of view that probably, I think, or perhaps if I were to put it this way, that mentally I have taken a breather this week, whichever way you want to say it. But yes, of course, you had Claude 3.5 Sonnet making waves,
Right.
and that was interesting. So a lot of chat of how it has overtaken. GPT-4o on the MMLU benchmarks and some other benchmarks. Uh, and then I think if you want to, we could also, I found this Luma AI pretty interesting. One of the competitors of Sora and View and other kind of text
Gemini
to
1.5 Pro. Yeah, text to video.
absolutely. Any of the, text to video
Text to
generator,
videos.
whether it's Synthesia or there, almost like hundreds of these text to video generators. But I did play around also with Luma AI.
Luma?
Yeah,
Okay.
I give it a very simple prompt, saying that a robot teaching math
Okay.
to humans. And it gave me a nice little video.
Video.
uh, Interesting. It took a long time because it says that it is queued up.
Mm.
So what
Mm.
would have ideally taken you seconds
Yeah.
now takes you almost like in my case it took me almost like I think 6-7 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, because they do explain that there's a massive queue, but the output was something that I found very impressive because mine was a very
Really?
yeah, so mine was a very basic input, and I'm no artist, so I know.
Then in which case, if the latency is that high but the output is impressive, then it might get into the purview of advertisers, marketeers, people who generate promotional videos, and rather than mass public using it the way they use ChatGPT. Because I'm sure they'll improve on the latency. Definitely, the latency will come.
Oh, yes,
Will
yes.
get much better.
No, no, this is, I think as they explain that there's too much of traffic,
Traffic.
so I
Understood.
guess they will solve that because if you look at the model, I was looking at some of the specs of the model. It was something like it is promising generations of up to 120 frames in 120 seconds. So 2 minutes or a frame per second, if you want to get that kind of comparison. And if you look at it like, okay, the competitors, By the way, I think just for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, this is Luma AI is backed by Silicon Valley venture firm Anderson Horowitz. So
A16Z, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
the A16 guys, and this Luma AI, this generation machine reminds you of something. and and of course, I mean, the competitors are like, whether you have Runway, Pika, Stable
yeah.
Video Diffusion, Meta's own MU, as you said,
Correct.
Google's Lumia, this
Imagine,
Imagine.
imagine.
So plenty of stuff happening in that field. As far as Claude 3.5 Sonnet is concerned, that is interesting because it's claiming to outperform GPT-4, Gemini 1.5 Pro. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I believe it's the flavor of the season. I think the LLMs out beating each other on top of the leaderboards is going to be a continuous, you know, continuous phenomena till they stabilize. Okay, till some of the leaders definitely come through. I'm sure.
How reliable are these benchmarks? So I'm not too sure about that because my whole question has always been, okay, fine, you're putting out these benchmarks, but I'm no expert in this particular field, so I have no idea. But we should get somebody to talk about benchmarks on the reliability of benchmarks. So
Right. I
that
mean,
could be.
considering there are only very few benchmarks, okay, uh, all the LLM developers and providers, get the same one. But I think the LLM development is also happening at such a fast pace, and it's so competitive that if Claude 3.5 Sonnet is claiming to be the best performer now, it won't stay there for quite long before somebody else or some other LLM comes and displaces it, until the entire LLM development gets to a certain level of maturity, is my point.
Yeah, and then of course, I think by the end of the year they will release Haiku and Opus, and they will say that these models have beaten the earlier
Right.
models. In the
Right.
meanwhile, everybody is waiting for Godot, which is GPT 5, which is
Right.
supposed to, sort of change the world. And
Again. Again.
yeah, again. And
Again.
I mean, seriously, I'm pretty fed up of that conversation. But I mean, regardless of whether GPT-5 comes in the word, in that particular avatar, or whether it comes in any other avatar, I think the fact remains that LLMs have improved dramatically. Uh, and on hallucinations, because see, time and again, I've noticed if you look on X, the kind of discussions between experts and the people who are not as informed as those people who are actually working on it also, time and again, it's the same line of argument or a broad argument which is no, but it is still hallucinating. And time and again, we have pointed to our viewers and listeners that, it is silly in today's world to expect LLMs not to hallucinate because that is how they generate the data.
Right. Right.
So AI models generate data because of the strength. So hallucination is actually a feature. It's actually a strength also
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's how they generate data. Because I think people don't really understand how LLMs generate this data. They think that, okay, each and every time it's reading everything and then generating on the fly. It doesn't happen. It's
Yeah, at the end of the
pre-trained.
day, it's the next word generation and high probability. That's it. It's
Exactly. And it's not
probability.
pre-trained data unless
Yeah,
you're doing inferencing and
exactly.
doing some
Those are not really extremely intelligent machines, intelligent algorithms and
prediction.
machines. They're prediction models, and which are brute force, which are backed by a huge amount of compute. Okay, and very rigorous probabilistic models, which pick out the best probability at that point of time in the latency or in the given time that they're supposed to do it. So we are still not, the LLMs currently in the current avatar are not really the most intelligent entities out there.
Yeah, and you and I also, we also predicting the next word. We
Exactly.
also predicting our next word. So all of us do hallucinate. I mean, sometimes we speak nonsense, gibberish, and then we try
Yeah.
to cover it up. So
Our our show podcast producer is not here on this episode. She's traveling in US. But if she were around, she would say, you guys, do that like LLMs the entire show any which ways, every episode. You guys freewheel it.
I know. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, talking about hallucinations and LLMs and another, I found it interesting. So the information has put out some, I mean, I'm referring to the media house, the newspaper, I mean, the publication basically, that OpenAI's revenue has almost doubled because its annualized revenue has more than doubled over the last 6 months from dollars 1.6 billion in 2023 to dollars 3.4 billion this year. Of course,
It's
these are
more than double.
annualized. Yeah, it's an
Okay.
annualized revenue. So
Interesting. How much of it is, Microsoft's integration of exactly? I mean, Copilot Pros, and all that. I'm guessing a significant share of that is Microsoft revenue being pumped in, apart from the subscribers,
it,
apart from the paid subscribers.
yeah, I don't think we have that breakup. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think these are like the credible information from
Yeah.
coming from the information, but at the same time, I don't think we have that kind of breakup that we can understand
Mm.
what is happening.
Mm. No, I
And
would I would definitely consider Microsoft's Copilot Pro, essentially OpenAI integration for in all its enterprise tools, and the revenue coming in from Microsoft would be a fair
but
chunk.
but I was also looking at it slightly differently. So you have 100 million plus subscribers. I don't know how many are paid subscribers.
I would imagine less than 20%.
So even if you take
Best
20%,
case scenario. Yeah,
so best case scenario, even if you take 20%,
that's
and
20 million.
you multiply it by $20, it's not a bad sum to have.
Yeah, it's not a bad sum to have. This is $20 per month, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you look at the annualized revenue, the numbers may add up. I'm not doing the math. You can do the math yourself. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
one way of looking at
then the
it.
paid subscribers are much lesser because my math tells me 4.8 billion, which is then it's lower single digit paid subscribers.
Exactly.
Lower
So
single digit
maybe
percentage.
we are not looking at the revenue from Microsoft and other things. I think
Mm,
3.4 billion is not a number that it could, but it could be perhaps more also because remember that
annualized.
this is annualized revenue. So you're guesstimating based on the current figures. Uh,
Right.
thing. And of course, speaking about OpenAI, Ilya Sutskever, who left, was of course the co-founder of OpenAI.
OpenAI.
He left and he started this startup called what is it? Safe Superintelligence.
Yeah, safe
What's it?
super intelligence.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm guessing it has everything to do with responsible AI because he's been
exactly, because
the
I think his
advocate of
heart
that.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, his heart was, there. We know
And
that.
even last November, when the entire Sam Altman ouster drama happened, when Ilya took over, and Ilya was very vocal about it, it was about responsible AI, or how OpenAI has, drifted away from its earlier core tenet of developing responsible AI.
Correct.
So, yeah, I'm guessing safe super intelligence has everything to do with, responsible AI.
That was Ilya's forte, and that's the reason, perhaps. I mean,
Exactly. And considering off late, we've seen some research white papers which are talking about now, uh, you know, the the entire transparency in hidden layers can be,
yeah, we
made
did
out.
speak. If you remember, in our earlier podcast, we did speak about Anthropic's
Anthropic's white paper.
white paper.
White
And,
paper. Yeah.
but even there, it was just the beginning. Because
Exactly. So
we don't,
I'm considering it's just the beginning. Okay. I'm
yeah, I
sure
don't
it's
think the black
transparency.
box will ever be I don't think you'll be able to really understand how it works because we are talking about millions of layers. We're just not talking of one and two layers. No, so
True.
it's very difficult. And in fact, actually, even if you look at the human brain, because now Jan LeCun and all are suggesting, and other white papers also are suggesting that it should be modeled more on the likes of the human brain.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
easier said than done.
Yan has
So,
always been this one that AI evolution has to model the human brain. I mean, every talk that I have seen of him from
yeah.
years on end, he always compares it with a 1-year-old child, infant, 2-year-old child, 5-year-old child. Okay.
I think the point that time and again he's making is that, okay, then that I think see, we know the opposing camps. One camp clearly talks about, AGI, and this is the other camp that says, okay, just chill a bit. It has not learned how to reason. It cannot reason. In fact, it cannot even its intelligence can't even be compared with a 5-year-old kid. I think so we understand where these camps are coming from. One is saying, okay, do not have great expectations as of now. Temper your expectations, but I feel is a sensible thing.
No, but having said that, I have to tell you this, Leslie. I'm here in Kuala Lumpur, and yesterday I had a meeting with the CEO of one of the Axiata group company. Okay, Axiata is one of the biggest Malaysian conglomerates, and this group company is the Malaysia equivalent or the Southeast Asia equivalent of Fractal Analytics. Okay, so they also work a lot with enterprises. They're in the services space, AI services space. Okay, but work a lot with the enterprises. And implementing both traditional AI and generative AI. Okay, what I heard, from this gentleman was that enterprises are now these guys have a lot of clients, and on their existing client base, they are now implementing AI solutions. Slowly but surely, a layer that is evolving into agents is being implemented in enterprises already. Okay, so we've talked about AI agents coming coming out of the woods. The foundation of that in enterprises, and I'm listening to that from Japan to Australia and everywhere in Southeast Asia, already happening. And even in India, when I speak to some of the guys who implement AI solutions with enterprises, that is happening, evolving into agents. So enterprises very
Jayanth,
quietly are doing their work.
No, absolutely. I mean, I fully subscribe to what you're saying. I just wanted, for the benefit of our viewers, and this is also to add one point here, that when we speak about AI agents, many experts like to make a distinction between AI agents and agentic development.
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
AI agents tend to get confused with chatbots.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Those kind of things. So, agentic would be perhaps a more appropriate word to describe what you want to,
Correct.
at this point in time.
Correct. I mean, essentially evolving into AI, evolving into, in enterprise segments, automating the business processes in different functions. And, the early stages of that is already being implemented in enterprises, is what I'm hearing from, the Southeast Asia fractal analytics.
No, it's even in India. I think a lot is happening currently. And speaking about there's an interesting survey from the IBM stable which talks about what Indian CEOs say about Gen AI. It's June 20. I think it was just released about 2 or 3 days back. Now, just 2 or 3 interesting points that I found. One, of course, is a kind of 70% say AI success depends on people's adoption. Yeah. I mean, that's a kind of a given. But what I found interesting is that hiring for Gen AI roles that didn't exist last year. So that's about, 47 or 48% of the survey respondents. Another interesting thing was that competition among C-suite executives impedes collaboration at times.
Right.
So that is something, I wanted to highlight, because you remember we have said this. You're talking about an AI officer today. Okay. Then you're talking about a chief AI officer.
Chief AI officer.
When you have a CTO, you have a
CIO.
Now,
CDO.
You have a CIO and a CTO. These were like traditional functions. Then the CDO was already there.
In the last 5 years, we got CDO.
Yeah, and now CDO. Now CDO also makes chief digital officer in some cases. Some cases it means chief data officer.
Right.
So we have added that layer also. And then, of course, we have the CMO, the marketing function that handles everything. The CHRO that also had. Then I told you that in certain cases, they also already built another layer called CTDO, the Chief Digital Officer.
Digital Officer.
So there is that. So I'm just talking about that competition. And I think what I found interesting, I think it was Parsons, who, from ThoughtWorks, who in one of when I was interviewing her, she said that I think if Jennifer Parsons, if I'm not if I get her name right, and she said that probably the chief AI officer would be a kind of a temporary position, so 2 or 3 years till things streamline, and then kind of a position where the chief AI officer brings everything together, and then again it goes back
Sort
to
of
the function.
dissipates into
It's
different.
interesting. It's a good thought and an interesting thought, and you never know what can happen with these
Yeah,
zones.
you know my thought process on this. I'm not a huge chief AI officer fan. I'm a AI success office fan, which is a
Yeah, but
multifunctional special task force.
yes, but
So
for me that's also jargon. Okay, because
no,
if
it's
you
not jargon.
remember.
It's not jargon. It's actually a way of doing things, practically speaking.
Yeah, but everybody is supposed to work for success, I could argue, because no, no. The reason why I'm saying it, and I'm saying it more lightly, in a lighter vein kind of sense, because we used to talk about Chief Gardener at one point of time. If you remember the ITC Chief Mentor, Chief Laughing, now what Chief Fun Officer, Chief. So, we made light of all these kind of designations. So I just hope it does not degenerate. See, whether it is an AI success officer, whether it's a chief AI officer, or whatever it be, I think the idea is to get all these things, bind them together, and make it a cohesive.
And what throws out in the IBM IBM survey report is exactly what we've been talking about in various fora, including the conferences and also a couple of times on these episodes. I mean, essentially, AI implementation or AI transformation is boiling down to change transformation on the ground, and that's exactly the conversation that I had yesterday. And a lot of conversations, it comes up with various industry leaders. I mean, in practical terms, it's about the CXOs willing to work together, cooperate, and for the implementation of AI. Okay. Which we've seen, 5, 7 years back. The same was the case with digital transformation. I mean, all of us consultants who got the digital transformation projects, at the end of the day, on the ground, we were doing a lot of change management. Okay, it all boils down to that, and that's exactly what is happening as well. So when IBM survey report says that the CXOs need to work with each other, it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. Working towards the same goal, as they say. Of course, before we conclude this episode, I must mention this thing which I had pointed out to you earlier also, that you have Steve Endicott, who is the chairman of
Oh
an
yeah,
AI company called Neural Voice. He's running for the seat in the UK Parliament. Of
correct.
course, there's a slight twist out here that his campaign I mean, he's presenting the campaign by an AI avatar,
Avatar, yeah.
AI Steve. So
Yeah,
that's
AI Steve. We
great.
have an AI politician right now. Okay, not just politicians using AI for whatever
You remember
misinformation or disinformation
just a
or
few episodes
campaigns.
back, we were
Yeah.
talking about the AI beauty campaign,
Yeah, yes,
the
exactly. I mean,
beauty contest.
when we have Sophia, I mean, forget Sophia. Now, news presenters, AI news presenters are all over the world. Okay.
Absolutely.
Even Doordarshan's launched a couple of them,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Last week. Okay. And now, we have in the hospitality industry, we have, AI butlers and AI waiters. Okay. And, then AI, why not AI politicians? So,
In a lighter vein again, way back when in my growing up years, we used to watch this actor, very Jitendra, if you remember. So, I mean, for the viewers and listeners who are in around the globe, they may not be able to, resonate or understand who Jitendra was, but he was one of the Bollywood actors, and one of the I wouldn't say superstar, but one of the very big stars in India. But everybody criticized him for his wooden image, like the
yeah.
machine.
I think we should tell our audience that he was Ekta Kapoor's dad. I mean, they might relate that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the interesting was they used to talk about his wooden image and like a machine. But then so now all these avatars are like when we talk about whether it is AI Steve, whether it is a newscaster, whether it is AI beauty pageant or whatever it be, We are going to
And
see a
we
lot
had an
more happening.
AI CEO. I mean, remember
AI CEOs we
that was
spoke about, yes.
yeah, even much before
But we still have them,
we
of
still
course.
have them. I mean, the Hong Kong gaming company,
Yes,
it had
yes.
an AI CEO.
And we have AI on the board also, advising CEOs also. So I think these are interesting experiments that are happening at this point in time, whether AI Steve can add value to the persona of Steve Endicott, that remains to be seen. So this is an interesting thing to have an AI avatar. This is something in your area of expertise where we should talk about omni-channel presence.
Exactly.
So I think we will.
Early days of AI, everybody's trying to carve out a slice of their own from this entire AI wave and the ride. Why not?
But
Why
the
not? We
interesting
don't
part
know.
is how does he, pre-train AI Steve to talk and not hallucinate? That will be an interesting part. So I think a little more, because all said and done, of course, I'm sure these would be scripted things that AI Steve would be talking about. You know how,
Yeah,
but that would be interesting. And
it'll be a rule-based avatar.
yeah, I remember IBM debater. If I don't know whether you recall that. So we used to the IBM debater could have debates.
Correct.
So
Correct.
probably AI Steve may pick up something from those things
Something from there.
and have actually a live debate.
Why
Interesting
not?
to see. We should have a avatar of Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and here,
At a national debate, right?
yes, here PM Modi and Rahul Gandhi. It would be interesting to watch these things
Right.
unfold. Okay, folks.
Yeah.
So for
Okay.
now,
For
uh,
now, on a quieter AI week, by the way, quieter saying we have a new LLM on a leaderboard, and something that we didn't discuss.
it is.
Nvidia lost $500 billion in 3 days
Yes,
of trading.
I
It's
thought
still
it
it's still
regained some.
yeah, it's still a relative. Their head of investor relations has moved on, by the way. Okay, and it's still a relatively calmer and quieter week in AI. Okay, with all these developments happening as well.
Yeah, I guess, but at the same time, I think, to read too much into the loss of market cap and then, dissing these developments as an AI winter is also too premature because some
Yeah,
people
yeah, yeah.
maybe, I
No,
think,
it's not
learn to,
AI winter at all.
swing. I
No,
think
it's
AI is
just
already
correction. It's
actually
just stabilizing. I mean,
correct. And
last week we spoke about this. It hit the most valuable, this one, for a very brief time at 3.32 trill. Okay, but then it was coming down, and we discussed that it was anyway trading at far higher, PE multiple than the industry average. Okay, this is
And
just
the stock
stabilization.
markets generally factor in a lot of great expectations.
Right.
And then when some of them are not met, it translates into a loss of market cap. So these
So
are
I remember reading this tweet on Twitter. Apparently, all the middle management, executives of Nvidia who had gotten
cashing
their stocks are cashing out at the peak and leaving. So Nvidia is actually having a problem by its
problem
success.
with the,
By
yes,
its success.
yes.
Okay. I mean, I
No,
remember reading
that
some
is a very
calculation.
interesting. Yes,
Yeah,
that is a
four
very
years
interesting point.
4 years ago, if a product manager would have joined Nvidia, apart from his salary, if would have gotten 70,000 US dollars worth of stock, that last week would have been $10.6 million. Okay. So even middle management guys with 4 years of working in the company are cashing out as millionaires. So I heard that's also one of the trends. I remember reading a
It's
tweet about it.
possible to
Quite possible.
multi factors, as I said. So
Quite possible.
yeah.
Yes.
Good for Nvidia. Those who held on to the stock and those who bought the
Yes.
stock and those who didn't buy the stock would also be
There'll be other
grateful
options.
in the last moment.
There'll be other options.
Yeah,
We're only at the
there'll be plenty of other options.
very beginning of
Absolutely.
this revolution.
So, folks, wish you all a lovely weekend. And Jayanth, you have a lovely time in Kuala Lumpur and see you back in Bangalore soon.
Yeah, see you back in Bangalore, Leslie. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.